Yeah.
I always want to hear what,
If you
somebody's.
see me on there, you can call me out. But
Strangers with Kittens. Gen X stories from the least parented generation. Hi, welcome to Strangers with Kittens. I'm Eileen Kelly, and today I'll be talking to Katrina Oliver, licensed clinical mental health counselor and host of the podcast Still Becoming with Katrina Oliver. And today's guest is a therapist, but this content is for entertainment purposes only. So let's get to it. Hi, welcome to
hi.
Strangers with
Thank you
Kittens.
for having me. I'm excited.
It's so exciting to have you. We're so happy you're here.
Thank you. I feel really honored. It's great to be here.
I'm going to jump right in because I've consumed a lot of your content. And what particularly resonates with me is what you've had to say about boundaries.
Mhm.
And I feel like there's a lot of talk now about boundaries, which is great. I'm
Yeah.
not very good at them. I'm learning. Um, if I had to classify my style, I'd say porous. Um, but
Okay. Nice.
there are a lot of things that you really break down that I haven't seen broken down in that way before. And one
Mhm.
was types of boundaries.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and I would love to hear from you directly about the different types of boundaries and how we can set them, hold them, protect them.
Yeah. Absolutely. I'd love to. I always start by reminding people that having boundaries is not a personality trait. Like you're not born with boundaries or born without them. This is a
Mhm.
total communication skill, and we can all hone that. And so when people are like, I'm just not good at that, it's like, well, you haven't had the chance to practice it, or it's been hard to practice, or you've had
Mhm.
experiences that make you not want to practice it. But absolutely accessible to all of us. And it's messy when you're learning to do this, and it's not perfect. I'm always in process and renegotiating
Well,
boundaries.
that's
And
good to
so,
hear.
yeah. Oh gosh. Yeah. I think we are talking about it more, and I'm so glad. And some people, I just hear so many clients and people say, I'm just bad at boundaries. And it's like, well, you haven't learned. So let's
Right,
learn.
right.
And the reason I like talking about the types is that people can identify the ones that are easier for them and start with that. Like there are some boundaries that I feel are much easier to set than others. And so like one of those for me that I think people can be a little clearer about is physical boundaries. Like, oh, I'm not a hugger, or
Mm.
putting out the hand for the handshake, or just saying what they are or aren't. Not that this is easy in all scenarios. It's just a real quick, we give cues all the time about what's physically okay with us or not. When you meet
Mhm.
someone, how much proximity you leave, all of those things are physical boundaries. And so I think sometimes we don't realize, oh, that is setting boundaries how I greet people, how I allow people to be in my space or touch me, right? So that's one type. Another one is that I think is easier is material boundaries. Like, do I lend things to people? Do I not lend things? Like, I'm thinking about my kids and learning to
Mhm.
have boundaries around their toys. Like, oh, this
Mhm.
one's mine. Or you could play with this for 5 minutes, right? How we lend or give our things. And those are boundaries. And so as we talk about the different types, I just invite people to say what feels most accessible to me to start trying. And starting small can be a great way to do it. Another one that feels pertinent is digital boundaries, how much you
Yeah, tell me
consume.
about that.
So, I didn't mention, but my history is working with adolescents in the school system as a school counselor previous
Okay.
to becoming a therapist. And just seeing the effects on children's brains and their emotions due to how much digital content they consume. I've been hyper aware of this before I became a mother. So that was my first window into thinking about, ooh, how much are we using screens and what is it doing? But now I'm
Mm.
like, here's my phone, like I I'm trying to build a business. I enjoy consuming content by other powerful women, and it's addictive,
Yeah.
frankly. And learning to set boundaries for ourselves is, I'm not saying this to someone else, but how
Yeah.
much am I going to allow myself to consume? I also think it's really timely with how much news media we're consuming. It is a constant
Right.
balance between being informed and not being so dysregulated that I can't go about my life and do my job or be with my kids, And so how
Right.
much news media is okay for me to consume. And that's different for
Right, and that
everyone.
may be different, yeah, for different people, and
Absolutely.
there's a certain sense for some of us, a sense of obligation. If I'm not informed, I'm not being a good citizen,
Yeah.
but if it leaves you non-functional,
Yeah.
how how responsible or helpful is that?
Absolutely. And it is absolutely finding the balance that works for you. It comes up in a lot of my sessions in my office right now is helping people find what that middle point is for them so that it
Mhm.
doesn't cause shutdown. I mean, developmentally, in the scheme of time, right? Like us being able to have news from all over the globe, our brains haven't adjusted to being, you've seen the things like you weren't meant to hear all the world's problems over breakfast
No, I
or,
haven't heard that, but I've been saying it for
yeah,
years. I'm like, "We are not built for this. We're built to take care of our family and, like, immediate community."
yeah. And like one definition of trauma is too much too fast. And if you are consuming too much information too quickly, it overwhelms the nervous system. And
Mm.
now again, I do feel it is important to be informed. I'm not saying don't, but I am saying make it intentional. Not I'm scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. It's what are
Yes,
my trusted news sources, a couple, and when
right.
do I consume those and for how long? And putting some clear parameters and not I am at the whim of these news stories and they
Right,
can
whatever pops up on my screen.
yes. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, because we can't cope with that level of overwhelm.
No, we can, and I was just saying to a guest a few weeks ago about how I go through periods of having, like, healthy sleep and really being on it, and then sort of being lax about it and scrolling through Instagram before I go to bed, and it's like, "Oh, a cute animal video," and then something horrible that happened in politics, and then war, and then Epstein, and then I'm like, "Ugh," and I can't go to sleep, you know? And I'm cursing myself for ever picking up my phone because I'm in a completely different mental state now.
Yes. Yeah, I think that's valid for many of us. I follow fun and informative pages and then mixed in, like you just said, it's like, I didn't want that,
Yeah, I didn't
and
ask for it. Why is this part of my feed?
yep,
Yeah.
yep,
And it's 11 PM or whatever, and I would like to curate what I'm exposing my brain to right now, and it's like an assault.
yes, it is. It really is. And so acknowledging that inner child or whatever part wants the scrolling. Like, I hear
Mhm.
that, and let's think about if that's a good idea right now. That's kind of how I talk to myself. Like, the same way
Yeah.
I would talk to my kids. I hear you want that bowl of candy before bed. I hear it. But, like, let's think about what that might do. And, I
Right.
I do have a
Right.
cutoff time for social media for myself, in the evenings. I'm
Which
not
is?
perfect on that either. 9 PM.
Okay.
Mhm.
Good to know.
Yeah.
I always wanna hear what,
If you
somebody's
see me on there, you can call me out, but not
I
perfect,
like
but
that, though. I like the,
yeah.
we really do need to growing up, there were so many boundaries in place for us. On the one hand, yes, Gen X was very feral in many ways, but
Mhm.
cartoons were for a few hours on Saturday
Yeah.
mornings, and then
Yep.
you went outside because there was nothing good on.
Yep.
It wasn't 24 hours, a million channels, whatever you want, whenever you want. So now you have to develop an inner discipline and develop a set of boundaries around this, right?
Yeah.
And as parents, we are like our parents didn't have to worry about it because it was built in. TV shut off at midnight. It just
Mhm.
turned into, the Star Spangled Banner and the rainbow bars or whatever, and then it
Yeah.
was off.
Yeah.
So you didn't have to worry about your child watching TV at 2 a.m. secretly in their room
Right.
on their computer or whatever.
Mhm.
I feel like as parents, as educators, therapists, anyone who's working with kids or has kids, there's so much more of a burden when it
Yeah.
comes to things like this.
Yep. Absolutely. The access to things, particularly like on YouTube or other things that kids have access to. It's really overwhelming as
Mhm.
a parent. And so I create digital boundaries for my children until they can create those boundaries for themselves.
Yeah. Right now with the lawsuit that the
Yes.
landmark lawsuit, I mean, it's a very timely topic. I feel like we've been talking about it for years and years.
Yep.
But the fact that that lawsuit was just one sets a precedent and opens a
It does.
door for big changes that I
It does.
think are a long time coming and I hope come soon
Yeah.
because it's really the only way corporations are ever going to do the right thing is if it affects their bottom line.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And adolescents who consume social media in particular, I just more so than other, television or whatever, I just see it affect their self-esteem and their levels of happiness, and it's heartbreaking. So
Mm,
the accountability feels really good.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad to see it.
Uh, do you find that Gen Xers in particular struggle with boundaries? Because, I was reading, listening, watching a lot of your content and really reflecting more on why this isn't this feels a little uncomfortable for me or it's not
Mhm,
something that comes naturally to me. And like you were saying, they're muscles that maybe you haven't
mhm,
used. You just have to practice. But I was the youngest of 6 kids. We had one bathroom with no lock or latch on the door. Uh, We had a basket of toothbrushes, and you just used whichever one wasn't wet that
wow.
that night. So, it it really there was no, like, "This is mine, you can't
Mhm,
use it, you can't
yeah,
have it," you
looked
know?
very different.
Yeah, and I know that's not everyone's experience, but I do think that a lot of people I knew grew up, like, in very close quarters with big families, and boundaries really just were, like, unimaginable because there just wasn't the space.
Yeah. I don't think there was the language much either.
Right.
When I see kids now, they are far more willing to talk about mental health, their wants and needs. They're just a little less inhibited, I think.
Mhm.
And I mean, I can speak to it especially from the women end of the socialization of we make people happy and we are nice. I think that's a huge part of why boundaries feel difficult for so many women in midlife is that like it feels rude. That's what I hear. I don't want to be
Mm.
mean. I don't want to be rude.
Yeah.
And
I
oh
don't wanna
gosh.
hurt anyone's feelings. I don't wanna
Yeah.
rock the boat or ruffle
Yep.
anyone's feathers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think and especially high achieving women who are like their perception, the other people's perception of them is so important of like I have to be this thing. I'm an eldest daughter, so I talk about that a lot. The image and the making other people happy. And so boundaries don't like fit into that way of interacting with the world. So I
Mhm.
think that's a huge part.
Yeah. And I think even women who I mean, I have friends who go to work and are badasses at work and might be corporate lawyers or whatever, but then they get home and there's a guilt in not spending and, you always feel like you're supposed to be wherever you're not, right? If you're at
Mhm.
work, you feel bad
Yeah.
that you're not at home. If you're at home, you feel bad about a deadline that you know is coming or whatever it is. And so sometimes it could be hard to hold boundaries in every area of your life as a woman because
Absolutely.
you feel like when you get home and you do have that time with your kids, you just have to say yes. You just have to,
Mhm. Mhm. Yes, the I have to be everything to everyone all the time, and 100% needs to be 100% across the board, yeah, and I
Mhm.
think those women might have some great boundaries at work. They may if these highly successful women, and where their room to grow is to think about what boundaries at home might look like, and how do I protect what I need while still being a caregiver, partner, maybe caretaker to everybody else.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's hard.
Yeah.
Yeah. The other thing I was
Okay.
thinking about was mental boundaries, but it's kind of emotional too. And this comes about respecting differences of opinion, but also what you will allow talked about in front of you and what you won't. And I think about people
Mm.
who are going to family dinners with people on the opposite side of the political spectrum and
Mhm.
having to have conversations around what they're able to talk about or not able to talk about, what they're able to be present for, how they will engage in those conversations and how they will not.
Yeah, this is a big one, and we really, I mean, summer's right around the corner, barbecues, 4th of
Yep,
July, whatever, and then before we know it, it's Thanksgiving and the
yep.
holidays,
It's
and,
always that.
uh yeah, and it's a real problem in our country, and families have broken up, and,
Yes.
people feel very anxious and traumatized.
Mhm. Yeah, and I think it's really helpful to think about what your boundaries are before going into those situations. And one boundary is I don't discuss politics. Another one would be I'm happy to listen to what you have to say as long as you are not demeaning me or others or, you know, um, I'm happy to have this conversation. I'm not okay if you start using profanity or,
Mhm.
what is the line? And for some people it's just best to say I'd prefer to enjoy this sunny day and good food and I do not want to talk about politics. If you choose to talk about politics, I will leave.
Yeah, I have actually said that.
Mhm. Great.
Yeah, and it
And
worked.
then people know. And then people
Yep.
know what to expect. And they can then decide and then you act accordingly. I think that's the other thing is boundaries aren't telling other people how to act. It's what you will or will not tolerate. So they can
Yes.
do whatever they want to do,
Right.
but how you respond to that is your boundary. If you choose to do this around me, I will remove myself, you know?
Right. And that's perfectly reasonable. You're not trying to
Yes.
control anyone. You're giving them
Yep.
a choice. If you feel that you need to keep expounding your beliefs, your views, then I feel the need to leave.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, and both of those things are reasonable,
Yep.
you know? But
Totally.
in the this was several years ago in my case when I did say, if you're going to continue this line of conversation, we're going to leave.
Yeah.
So it's up to you.
Yep.
And
Absolutely.
that the politics stopped and actually didn't ever come up again, which was great because it was always a source of stress
Yeah.
before get-togethers, and then it wasn't an issue anymore after that. It didn't come up.
Mhm. Wonderful.
Yeah,
Yeah. So the
and it was
boundary was
fine,
clear.
you know?
Mhm.
Yeah,
That's great.
and not everybody can handle that. I think that, some people get very upset if s they feel that you're trying to control them even though you're not. You're just
Mhm.
saying, if this happens, then that will happen."
I was teased for my boundaries, and I mentioned this in my podcast, but that it was the phrase like, "Oh, Katrina and her boundaries," and
That's
that
like a new
people felt
band, Katrina and the Waves, Katrina and Her
that's right.
Boundaries.
That would be great. Um, that other people felt I was putting distance between us, and that was hard. Because
Mm,
I was no longer allowing things to happen that felt bad for me, and so I would say like, "No, this is how much I'm willing to share with you about what's going on in my life. This is how much I'm willing to do this or that." And for me, it helped me feel safer in those relationships because I knew that I had created a container that felt safe. But for some people, it was like, oh, geez, like now there's all these rules for communicating with Katrina. And I'm like, yeah,
yes,
there
yes,
are.
there are.
Hmm.
Yeah, And that is so reasonable, but it's amazing how difficult that can be for some
It
people.
it is, especially when it's new, it's a change, and that's understandable that that could be hard for people, I get that. When you have relationships where both people have boundaries, it's beautiful. Like, I have a couple of friendships where I have women in my life with, like, really clear boundaries, and I
Mm,
feel I mostly do, and we can feel so authentic with each other. Like, I can be like, "Do you wanna do this thing?" And I know that they will answer in an authentic way, and that they're
yeah.
honoring themselves and thinking of me, and it's like the intimacy it can create in friendships and relationships when we know that I don't have to worry because 'cause you're taking care of yourself, I'm taking care of myself, and we care for each other, it's the best. It's really
Yes,
the
and when
best.
someone I'm thinking of one friend in particular, um, when someone does that, it then gives you permission to
It
have
does.
boundaries as well,
It
and
does.
that really it it took a long time for me to and it's still a struggle for me to feel like I can say, "You know what? I don't feel up to our plans that we made today." Or,
Yep,
I'm someone who always pushes myself and is like, well, I have to because I said I would, or
yep,
this person's asking me, so I can't say no. And I'm really forcing myself to pause. Because the other
yeah.
thing is the
So glad you
reflex is
said that.
okay, yes,
Yep,
you know, and to just pause and really take a breath and think about it. Does this
yes.
work for me?
Yes. I love that you said the pause because if you are used to being the like, "Okay, I'll do whatever you need," girl,
Hmm.
that's what's gonna come out. So that's where I would recommend, "Ooh, let me think about that. I'll get back
Right.
to you." You
And
know?
that's like a baby boundary. That's like half a
That's a
boundary to
baby
just be
boundary.
like,
It
"Wait
is.
a minute."
Yep.
Like, even those of us that feel as though they're the absolute worst with boundaries can say, "Let me think about that."
Yes. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that would be one of those to put in your pocket, right? Like, when someone asks you to do something, start with, "Oh, let me get back to you. Let me think about that," you know? And
Yeah.
then ask
I like
yourself.
that one.
Yeah, I do too. That's a good one.
So we've got that doesn't work for me.
Mhm,
We've got let me think about that.
mhm.
Those are
Can
2
you
I mean, I feel like those are some of the most important ones.
Yeah, and just another way to say that is, like, touch base with me in this many days, or I'll touch base with you, you know? I'll come back to it.
Now does that in those days where you're contemplating something, do you
Mhm.
feel anxious? Do you feel like, "Oh god, I said I was gonna get back to this person and I didn't," or if you're feeling that way, is that the signal to you that the answer is no?
That's a great question. I think it would depend where you are on your boundary journey of the anxiety, right? Like, if this is new
Mhm.
and you're really struggling, you know the boundary you wanna set, I think there probably is some anxiety there. If you're genuinely just taking time to self-reflect and you know that that's okay, I don't think there is as much. Um
Mm.
Yeah, yeah, and the more you practice it, the quicker you know, right? And learning to listen to what happens in my body when it's a yes for me. When someone asks me something and it's a yes, what does that feel like? Versus when someone says something and I'm like, the way you said something earlier about not wanting to do something, it's a no. Like, mm-mm. And
Yeah.
learning to notice the sensations in your body when you're like, yes, or no, mine's a contracting, like, no.
Mine too.
Mhm. And yes feels way more expansive. And so when you can pay
Yes.
attention to that, you might know instantly it's a no, but you don't know how to say it to that person. That's the great time to say, let me get back to you and figure out what are
Mm.
the words for how I need to say this no.
Now, with boundaries, is that something that can be weaponized in a relationship? If someone sets a boundary that is infringing on the other person's happiness or satisfaction, wh- what who's right there?
Right. Sure.
What's the answer?
Yeah. And I think you might be talking about walls also. Walls feel more like ultimatums, hard and fast. A boundary is a communication. between people. And if the spirit is communication, that's a boundary. If you are in a relationship with someone and you have conflicting boundaries, I don't think there's any right or wrong. Um, that's a difference in boundaries. So let's say we didn't mention intimacy boundaries. Obviously, like when we're talking about intimacy and safe words and all the things people use, that it's really important to have clear boundaries for what people are comfortable with. So let's say somebody has an intimacy boundary that's pretty like clear in one direction and the other person has other needs, they can still respect that boundary. However, over time, that might create an issue in the relationship to be explored or talked about, right? It doesn't make one person right or wrong. I think when it becomes um, weaponized, it's that wall of demands on how someone else must be. A boundary says, this is what feels comfortable with me. This is the way I will engage with you. And if you do this, I will need to remove myself because that doesn't feel good or safe. So it's really thinking about boundaries or communication, how I want to be treated. We talk about it, right? Um, how that lands for the other person, and then we figure out where we go from there. In a safe and trusting relationship, boundaries are what you want. Um, but yes, I think if it's weaponized, it's automatically not a boundary, is what I would say. That's something
Yeah,
different.
it's something different. Yeah.
Mhm.
Um, so I think back to when I went to a therapist for the first time, and it was the 90s, and it was very anxiety provoking, and it ended up not being a good fit, which also, when you don't have any experience and you don't have anyone to really confer with about the experience, then you feel like, well, I guess I'm doing it wrong or whatever if you don't like click with the person that you set up an appointment with. And now, you know, I know we were talking about tech boundaries and just how much screen time and all that stuff. But one of the things that's wonderful about social media is you and many other therapists are able to talk about these things in small clips on
Yeah.
TikTok and Instagram. And it, I would think, would anyone who's considering going to therapy, it's like, there you are. That's what you
Mhm.
sound like. That's what you look like. That's, just getting familiar with the language, the vibe of the person
Yeah.
in this way that's safe before someone makes a commitment just seems so great to me. And I wonder what your thoughts are about it. And also, do people try to get away with just that? Like, I
Mm.
don't really need to go to therapy because I can just watch this 60-second
Sure, sure.
TikTok clip and I'm
Yeah.
good.
Oh, there's so much there. There's so much there, I wanna say. Um Yeah, I'm super grateful that we can do these bite-sized mental health things. Like I talked about those type of boundaries in an Instagram post and someone can go find that and it's helpful. And also, like you said, the vibe. You will see the vast variety of therapists out there just by watching a couple of our videos, right? Our personalities are so different. Um so the two parts I want to talk about there is the first one being I tell everyone you should shop for a therapist. Do not just pick the one
Mhm.
that you found that has availability. I want you to look at their, their credentials, obviously, but more importantly, like what kind of work they do. Is there a
Mhm.
certain type of therapy they do? If they have a video on their profile, just hearing my voice tells you so much about me, right? The way that I talk. Or I always tell people I'm not a wind in the trees, like whispery therapist, but some people are, and some people want that. And that research says, within the first 2 sessions, if the therapist is a good fit, it feels comfortable. You may not be spilling your guts,
Yeah,
but you're like, "No, I can talk to this person." If you don't feel that after 2
right.
sessions, start thinking about shopping around. When I have consultation calls, I encourage people to, I'm like, have a couple of these phone calls. Don't just assume that I'm a good fit. And a lot of times people call me back and they said, thank you for doing that. I did. And I'd still really like to work with you. Cool. Sometimes I never hear back because they found someone who's a better fit for them. And so um, I do think it also destigmatizes therapists to be on there being like, hey, I'm a human and I have to take deep
Yes, for
breaths every day
sure.
too. I think the part that's dangerous is that social media is not therapy and people are confusing that. And that, yes, you can learn particular skills through social media, videos, websites, courses. The relationship between a therapist and the client is what makes therapy so different and so special. And that when you talk out loud to someone else and you trust them, this is, I would say, same reason why please don't use AI as your therapist, please.
Oh my
You
God,
know,
yeah.
again, you want a technique? Great. You can go find those. But therapy is about so much about the relationship, and you cannot substitute that or shortcut that. And having to
Right.
talk about things that are deeply uncomfortable and look at someone else while you're doing it, I mean, that's what helps us move through the things that are difficult and then have real feedback in real time. So, good tools, not therapy. That's what I would say.
Yeah, that is so true. Yeah. The human the human experience is essential.
Yep.
It's not just like, a workbook.
Right. No, and there's value in workbooks. We just can't call that a
Right,
substitution.
right. But that's not, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, have you ever been stumped by a client? Have you ever felt like, I don't know how to help this person?
Absolutely. I mean, um,
Really?
oh yes, gosh. If I knew everything, like I don't even have an idea of what that would be like. I'm a human being, a trained human being, but what I what I will go to for in session is I'll say things like, "Wow, I think we should just sit with that right now." Like all the, that's such a cliche for therapists, but like, let's just sit with that for a second. And then I
Mm,
notice what comes up. I may use some somatic skills where I ask them to tap into notice what's happening on the inside in their body. I'm also simultaneously doing that when I'm hearing them say things. How am I doing? I'm self monitoring. I'm watching them. If I don't feel a clear path, it means we need to talk about it more. So I'll say, say more about that. And then using different modalities, I can, tap into, okay, are we talking about needing to change some of our thoughts here? Do we just need to name and tame the feelings that are coming up? So I'll always go to a skill that I feel, but there's something also just about being present and just saying to somebody, whoa, I am so glad you told me that. I'm here for
mm,
you. I hear you, right? Um, because everyone is so different, I might have one person come talk about this issue and another person talk about the same thing, but they don't need the same response for me. So there's a lot
mm.
of noticing what's going on in the room, acknowledging where they're at, acknowledging where I'm at internally, and and then proceeding with some intuition also. I mean, I just think that that's part of my training is listening. Yeah, that was a
Have
good
you ever had to
question.
fire a client?
I have not. Nope.
Mm,
I have had uh, no, nope.
that's good.
Yeah.
I
Yeah, I
mean,
mean, I think that's the
it
other
must
thing.
happen
Oh,
at
yeah.
some point, sometime, but I'm
And
glad
what
you
I
haven't
would
had that
say is
experience.
if it had happened, it would be a discussion of, "I'm not sure that this is a good fit anymore, and here's why."
Mm,
We call it immediacy, where we're gonna be real with each other in therapy, and that's why I ask my clients, "How's this going?" You know? Like, "How are you feeling
mm,
about this?
yeah,
Are you getting what you
right.
wanted to out of this? How are you feeling about me?" That's really learning some vulnerability in a safe emotional relationship. And so I don't know if I'd even ever use the term firing. I think If there was something in the therapeutic relationship that was unhealthy, I would have to address it, and we would see if it was something that could change or they needed to see someone else.
Mm,
Yeah.
yeah, I like that. It's honest. I asked that question because I've known people that saw therapists for years and, um, I don't know, just didn't seem like there was a lot of movement or a lot of
Yep.
progress or, growth, and I always thought, "Boy, if I was working with someone and I saw this after 5 or 7 years, there's no growth." I think just to be have integrity myself, I would have to say, I feel like I'm not helping you progress, you
Mhm.
know?
I think that would be a conversation absolutely to have. Like, we've been working together this many years. These are the goals we've had. And I'm wondering if you felt that you've made progress, yes or no, and why or why not. Let's talk about it. Here's what I'm noticing. And I'm wondering, is this still the best fit for you? Um, I think some of that needs to be on them where they might be like, I think I've really made some progress. Like, I want to keep going. Or it could
Right.
be like, you're right. Like, we've sort of stagnated. I think I might need some fresh eyes on this. And I'd be like, great, let's look at your insurance. Let's find someone who's a good fit for you, you know?
Yeah, because if you're a personal trainer, you see the physical changes, right?
Mhm.
Like, and if you're not seeing any physical changes or any increase in endurance or cardio, fitness, you're realizing that what you're doing isn't helping. But I would imagine
Right.
as a therapist, it's a lot more, um, what's the word? Like a little harder to maybe
Yes.
see.
And it's, it can be 5 steps forward, 2 steps back. It could be we really are hitting this goal and man, not this one. Humans are if so much more complicated than data point, and that's
Mhm.
why
Yeah.
I probably like many therapists, on the humanistic side, it's like, yes, I want us to like look at these markers and make sure that your symptoms are managed or under control or decreasing, but also like you're a human being and that's super complex and
Yeah, it's hard to
and
quantify and
yeah, to say you're improving or not improving, well, at what? Like,
right.
you
Right,
know,
and
it's
what
a
are
lot.
the data points that prove that? Yeah.
Yeah. And it is good to have goals. Like, I wanna say that, like and depending on the severity, I love working with people who are in life transitions, so having a baby, marriage, divorce, death, um, changing careers. I love that, just that when we're in the midst of change, and so I don't think there's a lot of that is just supporting them as they're moving through that change and crafting who they want to be in their next chapter, all of those things. Whereas someone with, let's say, extreme depression, I'm going to have a very different set of goals and markers and safety measures in place, So it really
Mm,
is going to depend.
yeah. Speaking of that, someone who's sort of changing and evolving, have you noticed people needing to tweak or change their boundaries based on, um, different stages of their lives? Like, when you're parenting, your boundaries with young children are different as a mother than they are with teenagers or adult children, right?
Mhm.
And learning how to navigate that.
Yeah. I think parenting's a great example there of how boundaries need to change because your child is really developing and things are different. In general life change, what I see is people just getting clearer on their boundaries usually. Um,
Mm,
Not so much as like it's a big change, but it might be, oh, there's a new environment. I need to think about what this boundary looks like in that environment specifically, or I just got to get really clear on this boundary. Like, this is why I love working with women in their 50s, especially Southern women in their 50s, because I think they got the people pleasing even more as a
yeah.
message. And when they start to be like, no, I'm like, yes, love it. And they're like,
Yes, it must
dang,
be
that
so
felt good.
satisfying.
It is. It is. To watch people do that feels like you said, it feels different on the inside when I'm listening and respecting my own boundaries. And it just is really cool to watch people do that.
Are you noticing a trend on social media and in your practice with women in the last couple of years with the things that have come out, and I mean, that horrible case in France and everything that's come out in the Epstein files. It's such an assault on the female psyche, and what we've been, especially like you said, especially Southern women, have been brought up to be polite, to always make everyone else comfortable, to kind of sacrifice themselves for the comfort of others. Are
Yeah.
you seeing change in that based on the world at large?
I would say that I notice because of the attention that we're talking about it more, that people are more comfortable bringing it up, are more like, maybe it's okay if I set a boundary. I saw this influencer, or look what happened to these girls. That's not okay. I think there's less stigma, more of a like, oh shit, this is like what? Or noticing in their own lives. But I just think it's becoming more normalized to have the conversations, which I am thrilled. Thrilled.
Yeah, yeah. And I ask because I imagine that southern layer, that veneer, that kind of smiling even when things are terrible, it must be much harder to maintain with everything that we're exposed to right now,
Mhm.
you know?
Yeah, I think you either mask harder or you start to really say, "Oh shit," more, you know?
Mhm.
Yeah, either
Yeah.
it's, like, harder to keep that, but I'm gonna layer up that mask, or I don't want to do that anymore, and I'm gonna do this differently,
Yeah.
and that's what I love about women in midlife. They're like, "Oh, hell no. I'm not
Right.
gonna pretend anymore. Like, I do not care."
Yeah.
And so they start having those conversations here before they have them out in the world, and, yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's, the hormonal shift, the y y you've had your nose to the grindstone raising kids, and you're finally able to look up and look around and be like, "Wait a minute, I don't wanna keep living like this," or, maybe a combination of a lot of things, but I feel like there are so many women in midlife that have 0 fucks to give anymore.
Yep,
And
yep.
that combined with the Epstein files, the horrible case in France, so many things. It's just like, what are we doing here?
Yeah, yep. And to me, that's exciting. That's
Yeah.
that's pivot point, you know?
It's exciting for me too. I guess I just wonder if you're seeing, because I think the Southern culture can grip a little tighter to
Mhm.
what's familiar and safe. I I don't know if you're noticing that there's
I don't know,
less of that.
I should mention I'm in a very blue bubble of Asheville, North Carolina,
Okay.
and
Yeah.
when people also, not everyone is blue, let me be clear, and I work with lots of
Mhm.
different clients, but, when people read my profile on Psychology Today, they get an idea of who I am and how I
Mhm.
approach therapy, and so I probably don't have a great cross section of Southern culture, but I certainly see women who are fed up and are like, we
Yeah.
got to I got to," and it usually starts in it's their personal life where they're like, "Wait a second, like I want to create some
Mhm.
change here," which I just love. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I know Asheville. I have a friend who lives there, and I've performed out there, and it's such a great city. I love it. It's pretty
Mm.
fantastic. Okay.
Yeah, I love it
Okay.
here.
Um, yeah, but I lived in Southern Ohio for a short time, and Southern Ohio is Kentucky culturally. So that was a real culture shock for, somebody from the East Coast, and the New York metropolitan area because I don't know, I just thought we were more alike than
Mhm,
we are,
mhm,
and I saw so many women swallow situations and emotions in social situations And I dialed myself way down, by the way. Like I was like on 2. And I would see the women around me that I was spending time with just swallow so much. And I thought, my God, it is really hard to be a woman here.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And as
Yeah.
much as I dialed myself down, I was too much,
I was gonna say it
you
was
know?
still
And
too
I
much.
was like, well, that's as low as it goes. And I'm barely holding it here, you know?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I had
So
to get
many
out.
women are given that message no matter where they live that they're too much. It's just such a if we have anything beyond a very meek and mild, we're too much. That's
Yeah.
something I work through all the time is my fear of being too much and like being comfortable with my muchness.
I love the muchness. I encourage the muchness.
Yeah.
I would like too much and then a little more.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. I love it.
I just went to have you heard about Early Birds? It's this dance
Mm-mm.
event that is kind of taking the country by storm, but it's for women and trans people and it's they can't legally say no men, but they say politely, please don't come. But
Mhm.
it's fantastic music and dancing from 6 to 10 p.m. And their slogan is for women who have shit to do in the morning. And it's just like a joy fest. People
Oh.
just letting loose, no self consciousness whatsoever, just feeling the music. Amazing DJs that change the song after 45 seconds. Like you're psyched to hear the song. And then just when you're like, all right, it changes to another fabulous song. So the energy just stays up. It's so much fun. But yeah, it's just a room full of muchness and it's
Oh, love that.
glorious. It's glorious. So yeah,
That
more
is so
dance parties, more muchness. That's
yes.
that's the goal.
I love that. I love that.
Well, this has been so much fun. Thank
It
you so
is.
much for taking time to speak to me. I am really excited. So I want to mention it again. That's Still Becoming with Katrina Oliver is the podcast and it's brand new and I
Yes.
can't wait to keep up with you and listen and follow. So that's on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, wherever you get your podcast. Go find
Yeah.
Still Becoming with Katrina Oliver and Counselor Katrina on Instagram and TikTok. And it's been so much fun spending time with you and getting some scripts
Oh,
for boundaries.
great. It was
Boundaries.
thank you. I just so enjoy your podcast and all the things you're doing and talking about, and it was an honor to be a guest. I really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you. All right. Well,
Yeah.
I'll be listening. I can't wait. Bye.
I
If you like the show, please rate, review, and share on social media. Strangers with Kittens is produced by Ashley Aker and recorded in front of a live audience of dogs.